Joining me now is the president of the National Right to Life Committee. It's Tobias. Carol, I really appreciate you coming on. And let me just start with the 50-year campaign, if you will. Is this the end? Is this success, or is this the end of the beginning, as far as you're concerned?
Like Winston Churchill said, this is the end of the beginning. It's been a 50-year battle to protect unborn children. But we now have those battles in every state. So we are going to be doing what we can to affect those laws. But we know it's going to be a long, long battle to get where we really want to be, is to protect all unborn children.
Do you want to see this continue to be a state issue, which was a rallying cry for years? Or would you eventually like to see the federal, sort of a federal codification against abortion, a federal ban on abortion?
At this point, step by step, we're going to do what we can in the states. I think everybody is realistic enough to know that doing a federal law is going to be overwhelming. And at that point, it's not going to happen until we get large and general consensus among the population. And, that's obviously not going to happen anytime soon.
Does Natural Right to Life do you have what you believe should be, should women have access to an abortion at some point during their pregnancy, or are you advocating for a ban at conception?
What is missing from this entire debate and the guests that you had on before me is the fact that there is an unborn child whose life is hanging in the balance with every abortion that is performed, that life ends. So no, we believe that unborn child is a human being that should be protected. If the mother's life is in danger, obviously we are not going to ask her to sacrifice her own life for that of her child. And I know some women who really agonize as they go through that. But we see the unborn child as a human being that is deserving of protection.
So it sounds like, I guess it goes to when does the constitutional rights of the fetus trump the constitutional rights of the woman?
I don't think it has to be a competing right. There are pregnancy centers that are going to help a woman who is going through a difficult time. Many states have come forward with programs to encourage and promote childbirth to help a woman with various needs, whether it is housing or some kind of health checkup from a local nurse. I think the states are realizing that we are going to have to promote childbirth and support the women in a variety of ways. The pro-life movement has been doing that for 50 years, and that's not going to end. We're going to step up those activities because we realize there are more women who are going to be wanting and needing support and care. Is the next
step personhood, so-called personhood, which means, we've seen some of those. I think Mississippi was one where there was a high-profile constitutional amendment attempt. Is that something that you expect National Right to Life to be working on in places where you can make that a ballot initiative?
Well, National Right to Life actually issued what we would call model legislation last week. And that would be that abortion is not allowed unless the mother's life is in danger. But we do realize that in several states, that's not going to be practical at this time. So there are other exceptions like rape and incest that could be written into the bill. It's a model, and states could look at it and say, we like this part of it, we don't like this part. I really think we're going to see a lot of different bills coming up from the states with a lot of different interests and, I don't want to say exceptions, sure, but some changes.
Do you expect this to be back in the Supreme Court? So, for instance, if a state does pass a law that grants rights to the unborn, that sounds like something that would go back to the Supreme Court. Is that something you expect to happen at some point?
Oh, I think there is going to be several court battles over the next few years. Some of the states that support abortion are going to try to push the Supreme Court to see if they're really going to stand with what they did today. Pro-life states will pass legislation, and I'm sure groups like Planned Parenthood will come in and try to challenge it. And then we'll just see where the federal courts go. I don't know how many of them will reach the Supreme Court, but I expect court battles for a few more years.
And let me ask you about contraception. And the thing is that there's some things are seen as contraception, and some people see, for instance, an IUD, view that as an abortion. Does National Right to Life have a position on contraception? Do they want to see more limitations on it, or are you an organization that doesn't want to see it touched?
We have no position on contraception, and I know I believe it's being brought up. That is a scare tactic. I do not know of any state that is going to or is even going to try to get rid of contraceptives. I mean, that's a red herring that's being pulled across.
I think Idaho, I do think there's a couple legislatures, some very conservative ones. I think there's already
they're not
a bill
going after contraceptives.
in Idaho that was certainly I think it being voted on at least in 1 or 2 states. What you're saying is that is not something your organization is campaigning on.
Not at all.
Right.
The legislation that we promote specifically requires that the process start with a woman who is known to be pregnant, which pretty much rules out a lot of questions about contraception. But we have no interest in going after that.
Carol Tobias from the National Right to Life. I know this is a pretty big day in the pro-life movement. I appreciate you sharing a few minutes with me.
Sure. Thank you.
You got it.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.